Hi, I'm Amanda Gant, licensed mortgage lender, as well as a real estate investor with 10 years experience. And today's topic is one that's near and near to my heart, which is house hacking. What is it? Who is it for? And how can you use this to reduce your living costs and to build your wealth? So first of all, house hacking is the trick of basically using your residence, your mortgage lending power all together to lower your expenses and to build your wealth. But how do we actually do this? So I wanted to go over, first of all, the reasons you'd want to do this is so that you can use real estate in a way to get wealthier. I'm going to talk about some of the biggest ways that you can do this, as well as dispel a few myths about house hacking. So house hacking is popular among the FIRE community, which means financial independence, retire early. One of the biggest reasons why it's so popular in that community is because it is something that you can do to build yourself for financial independence. That being said, a lot of times the FIRE community is, correlated with a community that might be younger people. Maybe they don't have family obligations yet. And so a lot of folks might think that house hacking is something that is primarily for younger people without additional family members to take care of. And so you might think that if you've heard house hacking before, oh, it must not be for me. I have a family, or I plan to have a family, or I'm not 20 anymore. House hacking is for people who enjoy a certain kind of lifestyle or who can scale down their living expenses enough so that this makes sense. Well, I'm here to share with you the different ways that there are house hacks so that you can see that house hacking is actually for everyone. It's not too late to start. And it's a really great way for folks to start. You can use the programs that we have here in America to get primary residences, low down payment programs. 5% down is very affordable, very achievable. And there are also programs for first time home buyers or other situations that can have you put in down 3.5%, 3%, even 1% these days. And if you're a veteran or you're living in a rural area, there are actually loan programs where you can put down 0%. So this is actually a really great way to get your foot in the door, to not just buy a home and let it sit there, but to buy a home and have it be something that can leverage for you. So let's get into the top ways to actually house hack. So one of the easiest ways to house hack, or the most simple way to explain, is if you buy a place, as long as it has more than one bedroom, you can rent out the other bedrooms to friends or to actually tenants or roommates to live, and that helps pay your mortgage. So that's an easy way to do it. And this is great for people who don't mind sharing a home or actually like prefer sharing a home as opposed to just living by themselves. What you'll notice about some of these techniques that I'll share with you is that you can actually combine some of them, whichever ones would apply to your situation. So another house hacking strategy is to live in the property first and then rent it out later. When you get a primary home mortgage loan, one of the benefits that could be open to you is the ability to pay less than 20% down. For instance, if you're going to get an investor loan, most lenders require 20% down or more. There are very scarce incidences where you can pay 15% down, but most are 20 to 30% down payments. That might be a very high amount. You might not have that much saved, or maybe you do have that much, but you just prefer to use your savings in different ways, either in different investment vehicles or to keep it as a part of your emergency fund. Well, what some people like to know is that when you buy a primary residence, you're only signing up to live in it for 1 year because lenders know that life situations can change and that you can't really guarantee that you're going to want to live in the same house forever. So you can buy a place, and after a year, you can move on to another place and then rent that one out. If this sounds like something that could work for you, you could do this year after year after year. And over 10 years, you would have 10 different places to rent out. This is a really great way that people can build their portfolio. As long as you're thinking every time we buy a property, how much will I be able to rent it for when I move out? And making sure that that cash flow is positive when you look at all of the monthly expenses that are associated with your property. So now you can easily see how the first two house hacking strategies could actually be combined if that fits your situation. A third way of house hacking, and one that is very popular if you're able to do it, is to find a multifamily home and get an FHA loan for that. So FHA loan does not mean first time home buyers. You do not have to be a first time home buyer. but it does have to be a primary home. And FHA loans are available with a 3.5% down payment. And so, because that is a low down payment, that can be a really great bonus for you. Some of the difficulties of FHA loans are convincing a seller to accept it in a very competitive market because FHA loans require an additional inspection, and that can actually add some time on the closing date. Sellers would prefer to accept folks who are offering other kinds of financing or cash only offers. However, if you are working with a seller who's accepted your offer with an FHA loan, then you are good to go. Assuming that you're paying for that with 3.5% down, you will have either two, three, or four properties to your name. You only have to live in one of them. This is actually the second property that I bought for myself with an FHA loan, and it was a two-unit home. I actually opted to live in the larger of the two units, which at the time had two bedrooms. And I rented out the one bedroom. And I also got a roommate in my unit. So that was a huge house hack for me. This was a place that cost about $2,400 a month in my mortgage and monthly payments. And I was able to get my housing costs down to $500 a month through doing this house hacking tip. Another house hacking tip is if you buy a single family home and the lot is large enough and the zoning permits, you can build an accessory dwelling unit, also known as an ADU, on the property. And then you can rent that out short term or long term to folks, and it'll going to help pay your mortgage costs. Work with house hacking. And one that I see that I really enjoy is you could think about co-buying a house with a family member or a very trusted friend and living in it together. So this might allow you to qualify for a larger loan than you usually would. And maybe that would allow you to get a special house that you could rent out for more money or with a lower vacancy rate, or just to have a larger place where there might be more rooms available for you to rent out. So going in with somebody to buy a home to qualify for a larger loan can be a really great way to make sure you house hack the way you want to. Another one is to think about other kind of assets that are on the land that you have, and if you could rent any of those out. So, for instance, renting out a garage, a shed, storage space could also be a way to turn your primary home into more revenue for you. So, I think that you've seen these are some really great house hacking tips for you. Some of them will work for you. It's never too late to start. If you're 40, you can start. If you're 50, you can start. This is something that can really accelerate the kind of wealth that you'll be building over the years through real estate. If you're interested in learning or talking about which one of these house hacking tips might be right for you and how you can get financing for that, definitely let me know. I've got all of my contact information in the description below. Thank you so much and have a good one.